Have you ever wondered what would happen if you lived with the same level of discipline as a samurai in today's world? Not for one day, not for 1 week, but every single day of your life. Think about the world around you. Everything is designed to make life easier, faster, more comfortable. Food arrives with one tap. Entertainment never ends. Distractions follow you everywhere in your pocket. You wake up and before your mind even fully opens, notifications are already pulling your attention in 10 different directions. Modern life promises convenience, but there is a hidden cost that very few people talk about. The more comfortable life becomes, the harder discipline feels. And that is exactly why this conversation matters. Because somewhere deep inside you, there is a part that knows you were built for more than constant comfort. You feel it in moments of silence. You feel it when you see someone who is focused, controlled, and powerful in their actions. You recognize that kind of strength immediately. It commands respect without saying a single word. That kind of presence does not come from talent. It does not come from luck. It comes from discipline. Centuries ago, the samurai lived by a code that demanded complete control over their mind, their actions, and their habits. They didn't wake up asking how motivated they felt. They didn't wait for the perfect mood. Their life was structured around a simple but powerful principle. Do what must be done, whether you feel like it or not. In modern psychology, this idea is called identity-based behavior. Your actions follow the identity you believe about yourself. If you believe you are someone who gives up easily, your brain will search for excuses. If you believe you lack discipline, your decisions will reflect that belief. But when someone decides, truly decides, that discipline is part of who they are, everything changes. The question stops being, do I feel like doing this today? The question becomes, is this the kind of person I am? Samurai discipline was never about punishment. It was about alignment. Your thoughts, your actions, and your purpose all moving in the same direction. When those three forces align, something powerful happens inside the mind. Decisions become simpler. Focus becomes stronger, doubt becomes quieter, but modern society trains the opposite habits: comfort over growth, entertainment over mastery, distraction over deep focus. The brain slowly adapts to this environment. It begins to crave quick rewards instead of long-term progress. It begins to avoid effort because effort feels uncomfortable. And slowly, discipline starts to feel like suffering. But here is the truth that history keeps proving again and again. The greatest builders, warriors, athletes, and leaders were not the most comfortable people. They were the most disciplined. They trained their minds to act regardless of emotion. They understood something that many people today are just beginning to rediscover. Emotions are temporary. Identity is powerful. When discipline becomes part of your identity, action becomes automatic. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop waiting for motivation. You simply move forward. And that is why the idea of samurai discipline still fascinates people today. Deep down, every human being recognizes the strength of someone who has mastered themselves. Because mastering the world is impressive, but mastering your own mind is something far more powerful. And once you begin walking that path, your entire life starts to change. And once you begin walking that path, something uncomfortable starts to reveal itself. Discipline is not just about doing hard things. It is about facing the truth of your own mind. Most people imagine discipline as a simple habit. Wake up early, work harder, stay consistent. But the real challenge runs deeper than routines and schedules. The real challenge is psychological. Your brain is wired for survival, not mastery. It constantly looks for ways to conserve energy and avoid discomfort. Thousands of years ago, that instinct protected human life. Today, that same instinct quietly works against your growth. The moment you decide to become more disciplined, your mind begins to resist. Suddenly, your bed feels softer. Your phone becomes more interesting. Small distractions start to look extremely important. Your brain searches for the fastest path back to comfort. This is not weakness. It is biology. Your brain is deeply influenced by something psychologists call dopamine. Dopamine is the chemical that rewards your actions. It teaches your brain what behaviors are worth repeating. In modern life, dopamine is everywhere. Every scroll, every notification, every short video delivers a small reward. Your brain learns to expect quick pleasure without effort. Over time, this creates a dangerous pattern. Your mind begins to prefer stimulation over focus. It starts to reject slow progress. Anything that requires patience begins to feel frustrating. But discipline demands the exact opposite. Discipline requires you to tolerate boredom. It requires repetition. It requires patience when results are invisible. This is why so many people struggle when they first try to change their habits. Their brain has been trained for instant reward, not long-term growth. Samurai training understood this reality long before science explained it. Their daily life was designed to strengthen mental endurance. They practiced silence. They practiced patience. They practiced repetition until their mind stopped resisting effort. Over time, something powerful happened inside them. The discomfort that once felt overwhelming slowly lost its power. Focus became natural. Control became automatic. This is the hidden reward of discipline. When you consistently push through resistance, your brain rewires itself. What once felt difficult becomes normal. What once required motivation becomes routine. Modern psychology calls this mental resilience. It is the ability to stay calm and focused even when your emotions are pushing you to stop. Resilient minds do not collapse when things become difficult. They remain steady. They keep moving. But modern society rarely trains this ability. Most people are encouraged to follow their feelings. If something feels uncomfortable, the instinct is to stop, rest, or escape into distraction. The problem is that feelings are unstable. They change every hour. If your actions depend on how you feel, your progress will always remain inconsistent. Discipline removes this instability. It replaces emotional decision-making with structure. When discipline becomes routine, you stop debating with yourself. You stop waiting for the perfect mood. Action simply becomes part of your identity. That level of control creates something extremely rare in today's world. Inner stability. No constant mental chaos. No endless negotiation with yourself. Just clarity and forward movement. This is why disciplined people appear calm even under pressure. Their mind has been trained to tolerate discomfort. Their focus does not collapse when things become difficult. And once you experience even a small taste of that mental strength, something inside you shifts. You realize discipline is not restriction. It is freedom, freedom from distraction, freedom from impulse, freedom from the constant noise that keeps so many people stuck in the same place year after year. And the moment that realization sinks in, the path ahead begins to look very different. And when the path begins to look different, another truth slowly becomes impossible to ignore. The moment you try to live with real discipline, you begin to see how strongly your mind is attached to comfort. At first, the change feels exciting. You wake up with determination. You promise yourself that things will be different. You tell yourself this time you will stay consistent, this time you will push through, this time you will become the person you know you are capable of becoming. But very quickly, resistance appears. It shows up in quiet ways. Small negotiations begin to form in your mind. Just a little more rest, just one more distraction, just one small delay before starting the work that matters. This is where most people stop, not because they lack ability, but because they suddenly see the real battle they must fight. Discipline removes illusions. It forces you to see the gap between who you want to be and how you actually behave each day. That realization can feel uncomfortable, sometimes even painful, because it exposes a simple truth that many people try to avoid. Potential means nothing without consistent action. Dreams mean nothing without disciplined behavior. And your brain does not like this pressure. It prefers familiarity. It prefers habits that require the least amount of effort. Psychologists describe this as habit resistance. Your brain protects the patterns it already knows. Even if those patterns are keeping you stuck, they feel safe because they are familiar. The moment you try to change them, your mind pushes back. You feel tired sooner. You feel distracted more easily. Your focus begins to drift. It can feel like your own mind is working against you. In many ways it is, but this resistance is not permanent. It is simply the brain adapting to change. Every time you repeat a disciplined action, you weaken the old habit and strengthen a new one. At first, progress feels slow. The results are invisible. You may even question whether the effort is worth it. This is where discipline becomes rare. Most people are willing to work hard for a short period of time. They can push themselves when motivation is strong. But the moment excitement fades and the work becomes routine, they lose momentum. They quit during the phase where discipline is still forming. Samurai training approached this challenge differently. They understood that motivation is unreliable. Feelings rise and fall like waves. If action depends on emotion, consistency disappears. So they built their lives around commitment instead. Commitment does not ask how you feel. Commitment asks what must be done. It removes negotiation from the mind. It turns discipline into a duty instead of a temporary burst of effort. This shift changes everything. When discipline becomes a duty, you no longer rely on emotional energy. You rely on structure. You rely on routine. You rely on the quiet promise you made to yourself, and that promise begins to reshape your identity. Every time you act despite resistance, you send a message to your mind. You prove that discomfort does not control you. You prove that distraction cannot decide your future. Slowly, confidence grows from these small victories. Not loud confidence built on temporary motivation, but deep confidence built on repeated action. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to see that progress is not about perfection. It is about consistency. And consistency, over time, builds something extremely powerful. A version of yourself that no longer quits when things become difficult. And once you begin to trust yourself in that way, something powerful starts to happen inside your mind. The same person who once hesitated begins to move with certainty. The same mind that once searched for excuses begins to look for solutions. A quiet strength starts forming beneath the surface. This is the real power of discipline, and it is far more dangerous to mediocrity than most people realize, because a disciplined mind becomes difficult to control. When you truly learn to control your impulses, the world around you begins to look very different. You start to notice how many forces are constantly competing for your attention. Advertisements, notifications, endless streams of content, trends that change every week. All of them are designed to capture your focus and keep you consuming. A distracted mind is easy to influence. A disciplined mind is not. The moment you develop control over your attention, you begin to reclaim something incredibly valuable. Your time, your energy, your direction. Most people move through life reacting to whatever appears in front of them. Their day is shaped by distractions. Their decisions are shaped by emotion. Their goals are constantly interrupted by the noise of the world. But discipline changes that relationship completely. Instead of reacting, you begin to act with intention. Instead of drifting, you begin to move with purpose. Instead of chasing quick satisfaction, you begin to invest in long-term growth. Psychologists call this an internal locus of control. It means you no longer see your life as something that simply happens to you. You begin to see yourself as the primary force shaping your outcomes. That shift is profound. People who develop strong internal control behave differently from the majority. They stop blaming circumstances for every obstacle. They take responsibility for their progress. They understand that their daily actions are the foundation of their future. This kind of thinking creates independence. And independence is rare in a culture that constantly encourages comfort and distraction. A disciplined person does not easily fall into endless scrolling. They do not allow every impulse to dictate their behavior. They protect their focus because they understand how valuable it is. Focus has become one of the rarest resources in modern life. Everyone wants success. Everyone wants progress, but very few people protect their attention long enough to build mastery. Mastery requires depth. It requires patience. It requires long periods of uninterrupted effort. A disciplined mind can handle that. A distracted mind cannot. This is why the individuals who reach extraordinary levels in any field often share the same hidden trait. They control their habits. They control their environment. They control how their time is used. Their lives may look intense from the outside. Their routines may appear strict. But inside, they experience something most people rarely feel: clarity. They know where they are going. They know what must be done each day. Their energy is not scattered across endless distractions. Instead, it moves in one powerful direction. And that direction builds momentum. Momentum that slowly separates them from the average patterns surrounding them, not because they are more talented, not because they were given special advantages, but because discipline has aligned their actions with their purpose. And when that alignment becomes strong enough, progress stops feeling random. It becomes inevitable. And when progress becomes inevitable, something deeper begins to change inside you. Discipline stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like identity. The person you once hoped to become slowly begins to appear in the mirror of your daily actions. This is where the transformation becomes real. Because the modern battlefield is not fought with swords or armor. It is fought inside your habits, your focus, and the quiet decisions you make when nobody is watching. Every moment you choose discipline over distraction, you strengthen the part of yourself that refuses to live an average life. The modern samurai does not train for war. The modern samurai trains for mastery. Mastery of attention, mastery of emotion, mastery of time, and this path does not require dramatic changes overnight. It begins with something far simpler, yet far more powerful: awareness. Start noticing how often comfort tries to guide your behavior. Notice how easily your attention drifts toward things that require no effort. Notice how quickly time disappears when it is not protected. Awareness creates control. Once you begin to see the patterns, you can begin to change them. The next step is structure. Discipline grows stronger when your environment supports it. The samurai understood this deeply. Their days were not left to chance. Their routines were deliberate. Your life can follow the same principle. Wake up at a consistent time. Train your body so that physical strength supports mental strength. Protect blocks of time where your attention belongs only to meaningful work. Reduce the distractions that quietly steal your energy. These small choices do something extraordinary inside your brain. They begin to rewire your habits. What once required effort slowly becomes automatic. What once felt difficult becomes part of your rhythm. But discipline is not only about structure. It is also about emotional control. There will always be days when your energy feels low. Days when doubt appears without warning. Days when the temptation to quit feels stronger than the desire to continue. Those moments are not signs of failure. They are the exact moments where discipline proves its power. Every time you move forward despite resistance, your mind becomes stronger. Every time you act even when motivation disappears, you send a message to yourself that cannot be ignored. You are capable. Psychologists call this self-efficacy. It is the belief that you can handle challenges, that you can endure difficulty, that you can shape your own outcomes through action. And once that belief becomes strong, your entire perspective shifts. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop depending on motivation. You stop doubting whether change is possible. You begin to operate with quiet certainty. This certainty builds something that cannot be easily shaken: self-respect. Self-respect grows every time you keep a promise to yourself. Every time you follow through when it would have been easier to quit. Every time you choose the harder path because it leads toward growth. Over time, these decisions create a powerful identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You begin to see yourself as someone who executes, and that identity is rare. In a world overflowing with distraction, the ability to control your mind becomes a superpower. While others drift from impulse to impulse, you move with purpose. While others lose hours to meaningless noise, you invest your time into progress. Modern society may never demand samurai discipline. But those who choose it gain something most people never experience: control over their mind, control over their habits, control over the direction of their life. And once you taste that level of control, one question quietly rises above all the noise. Not whether the world can handle samurai discipline, but whether you are ready to become the person who lives it. And once that question begins to live inside your mind, life can never feel the same again. Because the moment you seriously consider becoming that person, you start to see the distance between who you are today and who you could become. That distance is not measured by talent. It is not measured by intelligence. It is measured by discipline. The truth most people quietly avoid is that potential is everywhere. Almost everyone carries dreams, ambitions, ideas of a stronger version of themselves. But dreams alone never shape reality. The world is full of people who once felt inspired and then slowly returned to their old habits. Discipline is what separates imagination from transformation. And the moment you accept that responsibility, something powerful happens inside your mind. You stop waiting for life to change. You stop hoping circumstances will magically improve. You realize that the future you want must be built through the choices you repeat every single day. This is the moment where the modern samurai mindset fully awakens. Not in dramatic moments of intensity, but in quiet daily decisions. The decision to wake up when it would be easier to stay comfortable. The decision to focus when your mind is searching for distraction. The decision to continue when progress feels slow. Every one of these moments is a form of training. Most people believe discipline is about controlling big actions. In reality, it is about mastering the smallest ones, the small moments when nobody is watching. The seconds when you decide whether to follow through or give in. Those moments shape identity. Every disciplined action reinforces a powerful message inside your brain. You are someone who moves forward. You are someone who keeps promises. You are someone who refuses to surrender control of your life to temporary emotions. And identity is the strongest force driving human behavior. When discipline becomes identity, resistance loses its strength. The same actions that once felt difficult become natural. The same challenges that once felt intimidating become opportunities to grow stronger. This is why disciplined individuals often appear calm in situations where others panic. Their mind has been trained through thousands of small acts of control. They trust their ability to respond, to adapt, to endure. That level of inner stability is rare in a world that constantly pulls attention in every direction. But once you begin developing it, you realize how powerful it truly is. Your focus becomes sharper. Your decisions become clearer. Your energy stops leaking into meaningless distractions. Instead, everything begins to move toward a single direction: growth. And growth changes the way you see yourself. You begin to recognize that discipline is not about restricting your life. It is about unlocking the life you are capable of living. It removes the chaos that keeps most people trapped in cycles of frustration and regret. Instead of wondering what might happen someday, you begin shaping what will happen through action. That shift creates momentum that compounds day after day. The small choices you make today begin to multiply into larger results tomorrow. Eventually, the person you once imagined becoming stops feeling distant. That version of you begins to exist in your habits, your mindset, and your decisions. This is the quiet transformation that samurai discipline creates. Not a sudden explosion of change, but a steady rise in personal power, a steady sharpening of the mind, a steady strengthening of the will. And when that process continues long enough, something extraordinary becomes clear. The real battle was never against the world. The real battle was always within you. And the moment you win that battle, the direction of your entire life begins to change.